And that's when I realized that it wasn't a puppy at all. It was a freaking Loch Ness monster.
That was a fantastic story, and I have to apologize because I forgot to hit record for most of that, and I mostly apologize to our comrades in the audience for missing that. That is our fault.
Look, it's a one-time deal. I'm not going over that again. If I did, I'd be a very, very bad boy.
Yeah, we don't want to bring up old pain again. Talking about it once is probably bad enough.
Yeah, I'm scarred. That was my scarred story.
I'm Scarface.
Well, hey, Scarface, how's it going today?
I've never seen that movie.
Is it like one of those 3 hour long, like old 70s movies that it's pretty good, but like, man, it's 3 hours long.
I don't know. I think it is long, but I, again, never seeing it, couldn't tell you if it's good or not. It's probably violent, probably inappropriate for most people. I would recommend steering clear. VeggieTales. Now that is a good series of movies.
And keeping it wholesome. VeggieTales, great, fantastic Bible stories of whole foods. That's
Yes,
right,
vegetables
unprocessed.
at that.
Look, I never wanted to be a vegetable more.
You a game changer?
You know, that's a fascinating documentary.
Yeah, fun fact, everybody. John watched Game Changers, and he is now vegan. So let's all give him a round of applause.
Yeah. So I actually broke vegan code by not coming out forthright and telling you I'm a vegan.
How could you?
I don't know. My grandma told me that if you don't have anything non-vegan to say, don't say anything at all.
You have such a great relationship with your grandma.
She was the compass aboard stormy weathers and seas.
No ship though, just like the compass thrown out in the middle of the ocean. Nobody gonna see it.
Yeah,
except for you.
exactly.
You are the sea. You are Poseidon.
Man, child of the seas. Man, what are we talking about today?
I'm glad you asked. To get actually on track here with some quality information, not just BSing, but we like BSing. It's funny sometimes. That's up to you to decide. I think it's funny. I don't really care what you think, other than if you think bad things about me, then I need to know because I need to change, 100% change who I am. If someone doesn't like, that's what we're going to talk about today. If you are not accepted, then you need to change everything about yourself. Your value was 100% dictated by how others perceive you.
It's all about the outer shell, first of all. And if you haven't got that through your thick skull already, just realize that. Go get yourself a new wardrobe, do your hair up right, and just focus on what people are thinking, because that's the most important thing. And fish sticks.
Very true. That brings us to the 3 pillars of citizenship in the Iron Will Collective. Number 1 being judgment. Number 2 being violence. Number 3 being resentment. All right, if you can get all of these in line, you're gonna be a piece of shit. All right, anyways, moving on to really what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about some exercise stuff. We want to talk about some fitness stuff. We want to help to bring some good information to light for those of you who may not have known too much about this stuff. So we decided that we want to begin the conversation by talking about the pros and cons of group training as opposed to just training solo. So John and I have both done a fair share of group training and probably a greater share of solo training. So we've got some insights to bring to you. If you've never tried group training, I think that it's worthy to check out, especially if you can find a community of other trainees that have similar goals as you. It can make it really fun, can increase the accountability, among other things. John has actually even taught group classes. Actually, we both have taught classes together.
Yeah.
So we've been on all sides of this, so we're looking forward to just shedding some light on the subject. So John, in your opinion, what is the best, if you could pick one thing that you could say is the best aspect of training in a group setting, what would that be?
Alrighty, so I think that the best aspect of training in a group has got to be the energy. So at least personally, when I'm in a group setting and I look around and I see that there's a whole bunch of other people, or maybe even just a couple other people with me who are putting in hard work and, busting up a sweat, it makes me want to do the same and push even a little bit harder, because if I have the ability to, I want to leave it all out and kind of just what's it called? Like lead from the front, carry the boats. I'd want to carry the boats.
You got the team on your back.
Yeah. So I do as much as I can, which is a little different from training solo, where depending on other factors and outside variables, you might be a little bit more like moderate in your intensity or your energy levels. So higher energy. That's one big benefit from group training.
I want to say that what you're talking about is very true. Though it's not impossible to achieve a high intensity on your own on a consistent basis, it definitely takes some time to learn, like really feel that in yourself. So having some external motivation is not always a bad thing. So if you see the person to the right of you absolutely killing it and you can tell that they are really, really working and trying, that might subconsciously even tell you to do the same. Going back to something you told me many years ago in the gym is try to be the hardest working person in the room. If you've got a room full of people who are trying to do that, that is going to raise everybody's game.
Yeah, and it's beneficial for everyone. I mean, even down to the coach level, because like you said, we've been on all sides of it. But I'll tell you, when people in class are busting ass, as a coach, as the trainer, it's so much more gratifying, especially in the moment. You turn up to a different level, that's for sure.
And that is definitely true. And even on a small scale, even in a one-on-one training setting, when your client is really giving their best and you can see it on their face, you can see that they're exerting effort, it just makes you feel good. It makes you be like, all right, this person is listening. This person is starting to understand how this works and how this is going to greatly benefit them to give their max effort.
It's almost like at that point in time, those people are going through flow, or they're in flow. Have you heard of that?
Like in yoga?
Kind of. So flow is
or like that flow state of mind.
Flow
you're
state,
talking
right?
about?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
exactly.
Like the brain waves.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't really know the details of it too much.
As far as I understand it, it's a state in which typically in a creative setting, say you're a writer and you are starting on your new book and you sit down and you write and you write and you write. And then you started at 10 a.m. And then the next time you look at your clock, it's 5 p.m. That's the flow where you kind of lose sense of time and you're just like 100% present there doing what you're doing.
I love that feeling. I've felt that in the past with like writing music, and definitely felt it at certain points in a few workouts or just in general. I guess that would kind of apply to that saying that time flies when you're having fun. You're in flow. You feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree with what you said about it happening in music. And that's probably the first place that's ever happened to me, is where I've gone and sat down in front of my computer. I like to record my own music. No band, just me. And there have been days where I've sat down early in the morning and then you look at the clock and you're like, oh my God, I forgot to eat breakfast and lunch. And like, I didn't even notice I was hungry, type of thing. So it's amazing when your brain starts to hit its stride, what you can make out of it. And it's doesn't have to just be a creative thing. Like you're saying, it can also happen in the gym. Once you get into that mindset of a high level of effort, you don't think about much else other than how you're feeling at that time and how how that work is really bringing you fatigue and bringing you close to your goals. That's what I try to think about at the end of all that. Even though you're in pain, even though you're breathing very hard and it's not necessarily the most comfortable state to be in, just got to think, this is going to bring me closer to what I want.
Yeah, dude, it's not for nothing. You're doing it, and it's like another brick, like we mentioned last time, just laying another brick down.
Oh, like Stormy Waters from Pink Floyd?
Oh, yeah, another brick in the wall.
What did I call it earlier? What did I call him? Something Waters?
I think it was Stormy Waters.
I don't think it was.
Rusty Waters.
Rusty?
Hot Dog Waters.
Oh, come on, man. This
These are
is
getting
a PG
worse.
show.
So, okay. Another benefit to group training, when a long time ago, like maybe 5 years ago now, which I guess isn't that long.
That's like eons.
Yeah, we're talking
Eons for young
BC,
people
okay?
like us. Again, for the record, I'm 26. John is 15.
Yep.
He's getting his learner's permit tomorrow.
I'm real excited. Well, a while back, before I had really gotten into a consistent routine at any of the gyms or at any gym, before I had any solid experience training with free weights or even just training on my own, I decided to take some classes, some group classes. And so this place was pretty neat. It was fairly popular. It was like a good draw in town because they offered a challenge that if you lost a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time, the whole thing was free.
May I cut in for one moment?
Yep.
What if your goal wasn't to lose weight?
So then that's where I was. My goal was not to lose weight, but
Possibly the opposite.
yeah,
Everything About Bulking, episode 6. Check it out.
there you go. Look back. That's a good one. It's a good one, people. But anyway, so, okay, my goal was muscle gain, but I didn't know that at the time. I was skinny fat, and I knew I just had to train. So my thought was they were going to be able to steer me in the right direction. So I kind of just went into it blind and said, all right, here we go. So Alina at the time was doing that lose a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time part. And so she was already in the challenge. And I remember being nervous because I felt like an asshole. I was like, am I too skinny? Are they not going to let me take this challenge? But I went in, and turns out they had a different challenge for me. It was 10% body fat. So get down to 10% body fat. And that would be, I had to do that within a certain amount of time. If I did that, the whole thing was free. And so I liked it. I liked the fact that it was pretty scammy from the outset. Like they wanted, it was like $200 each so we could do this challenge. And we paid it because we were like, okay, we're gonna win. We're gonna go in and we're gonna hit our goal and get all that money back. Well,
Wait. There was also a cash prize?
so we had to pay them before we started. That was our incentive to stay on track, because if we reached the goal in the time frame, the money we paid them came back to us.
Oh, sick.
So
okay.
it's like then it'd be free.
It's like collateral. It's
Yeah.
Like, here, hold on to this money, and then you will hold on to my fitness.
That's exactly what it was.
Once I become fit, you give me my money back. I don't know.
So yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a pawn shop for weights.
I was trading in like fat for the money that I let them hold.
I've got another little segue here. I hate to keep pausing in between your story here, but I have a question about how they determined your body fat. Were they using calipers, or did they have some sort of scanner like you have at your gym?
So that's a good question. They actually sent us to a different location to do a bod pod test, which is basically it's sending. The bod pod is like this little egg-shaped thing that you sit inside of wearing just your underwear, and it sends pulses through your body, and it measures how long it takes those pulses to travel through your body. And because there's a difference in how that signal travels through fat and also how it travels through water and bone, they're able to determine lean body mass and non-lean body mass like fat.
So see, I try to do a similar thing to myself where I kind of like clamp my nipples onto my car battery, but it didn't work the same.
Dude, you didn't wish hard enough.
Gosh darn it. Anyway, I want to make a note about any test for body fat percentage, and I want to make it clear that these are all involving a margin of error. They're not 100% accurate. Even the most expensive scientific laboratory equipment that you could use to do it is going to have a margin of error. So keep that in mind if you're ever testing your body fat. In my opinion, a body fat percentage would be most useful in the sense of progress. So say with your bod pod scan, when you did it at the beginning, they made you do bod pod at the end too, right?
Yeah, actually it was intermittent. So there was one at the start, during, and after.
So this can provide a little bit of tangible feedback, though not 100% accurate. But what you look at rather than the number itself is the difference in the numbers. So you can see, like, say you started out at 16%, and then a couple months down the line, it comes back as 13. That is though you may not actually be 13% body fat, that is still showing that you've dropped a little bit. So it can come with a bit of value in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. I never put too much stock or importance into these measurements, but it is important to have objective data and objective feedback as opposed to just subjective, which is you looking at yourself in the mirror or taking photos, which can show progress over time, doesn't necessarily measure anything.
I look at myself in the mirror a lot, and I'm going to tell you this much. Get rid of the bod pod, get rid of the DEXA, get rid of the calipers, just look at that mirror. If you can see a little bit of fat around your midsection, you need to jump off a bridge. No, I'm just kidding.
Extension cables to the nipples. That's how to do it.
But yeah, I do, and I personally value the mirror above most other methods at this time, at least.
And photos too are great. Those are really simple implements, but
Yep. If you have a place in your house that you can consistently take progress pictures of with, you know, the same lighting and everything like that, you can really see a difference over time, and it's very interesting.
and that's a really good thing to make a point on, is that if you are about to start anything, or geez, you know what, if you haven't taken a progress photo in the last month, today's your day, baby.
Yes, everybody. If you hear this
Today.
right now, it's mandatory. If you want to continue to listen to this podcast, go take a progress picture.
Right now.
We're
Press
waiting.
pause.
We're waiting. All right. Thank you for doing that. You will thank yourself a couple months down the line when you can look back and see how well you've been killing it. Or conversely, if you have been slacking, you can look back and see, like, damn, I used to look good.
Exactly. So
Get you back on track.
doesn't matter where you are, whether you're on track or need to get back on track or about to get on track, it's gonna give you a reference point, and that's it. Collect as much data as you can, because as you go along through the years, your memory it's not gonna be as reliable. It's
Definitely not.
subjective.
As far as nutrition goes, especially, there are a lot of studies that basically operate off of people's memories. So, like, they'll ask, like, what or how often do you eat bananas? How many times did you eat bananas over the last year? Unless you are logging this all down or taking a picture every time you eat a banana, you're never going to know. So that's something that can help you. Not that you're going to be doing a formal study on yourself or anything like that, but it's just having some evidence can truly help with where you're going to take it in the future, help your planning for the future.
And I'm really into all that kind of stuff, and I was when I started this challenge. So that was part of the allure and the draw for me, is that it came with the testing, it came with the coaches, with the whole entire group, Facebook group. Of course, there are the people that you worked out with, and so it just seemed like accountability wise, I was covered, like triple checked, and they had my money.
Yeah, and he was actually doing it at the Rex Kwando Dojo, so you can't ask for a better coach.
Well, maybe Sheila, but she waits at home, or Starla.
Either way, like, you can't come out of that not a monster.
I'd rollerblade to class. So we started taking these classes, and it was crazy. They ask you to go, I think it was like a minimum of 5 times per week, and the classes themselves are 30 minutes to an hour long. I can't really remember. But besides that, it was a Facebook check-in every single day. And so I learned that this type of class, this system, it greatly benefits the people who need to have that social environment in place in order to keep working out. So I think that's one of the reasons why things like CrossFit really took off, because people like to be around like-minded individuals, and they actually want to go back so they can see those same people, and so they can talk to them and work out with them again.
Yeah, you make friends.
Right, you're making friends. So for me personally, because I was already there with Alina, her and we were really shy, and so our goal was to get in, bust ass, do as best as we could, and then kind of just stick around to talk to the coach, get a little bit more information, because we figured like that's the best way to set ourselves up for the future.
Paying for it, might as well get everything that you want to get out of it.
Yeah. So we did all that thing, but we didn't feel as big of a benefit from that social environment, whereas some of the other members were clearly thriving. So I think it's just a personal thing. But if you're that type of person who would enjoy being around others, then group training, like there are people who are addicted to group classes, and I've met them. They sample places in town and they'll have like memberships for Orange Theory. They'll be at the LA Fitness, then they take classes at like some other community center or a spin class here, and dude, they have it all scheduled out. But those people know that they need to have their environment, like their social group. They keep in touch with everybody, and so it works for them.
Not the worst thing to get addicted to.
Yeah.
So to rewind a little bit, you said that the protocol that the challenge involved was 5 days of training per week. That sounds like a high frequency for beginners, for people who would likely be or possibly be involving themselves in this class, so, as you were. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I don't know, 5 days is kind of a lot to ask for someone just starting out. Like that could be setting you up for failure. I'm not sure how the graduation rate in your class was, but I think a lower amount of days might have been more reasonable for more people.
And that was amongst other things. I mean, all in all, it was a really aggressive challenge, come to think of it. So, I mean, not trying to knock them because it's worked for a lot of people. It just didn't work for me, because coupled with it was a meal plan that was really aggressive with the caloric deficit. It was just really broad stuff, overly generalized. I think that was like a one-size-fits-all program for a whole variety of people, which brings me to my next point. The downside of a group training class, it'd be that not every single one of the exercises may be appropriate for every single person.
Something that I have noticed in the classes that I go to, though, or if the coaches are worth their weight in whistles, then they will offer regressions and or simply just saying like, hey, if it hurts for you, skip this exercise type of thing.
Yeah.
We'll get something else for you. So I think if a instructor was overly strict about that, you could definitely be looking at hurting some people, which is, in my opinion, as a coach, the last thing that you want to do.
Yep, definitely. But I've seen it, and I totally agree with you. If you're a good coach worth your weight in whistles, you need to be able to go up with an exercise or go down, because you never know who's going to be taking your class. It could be Jane, who just got her knee replaced and has like one actual hip. The other one is, I don't know, made of porcelain or something. Like, it could be her, or you could have the 18-year-old kid who's just spry and he could do anything. You'll have both ends of the extreme, maybe even in one class sometimes.
Exactly, and depending on your class structure and who you want, like your target audience, I guess, for instructors, you oftentimes can experience a wide demographic of students coming to these, not just the 18-year-old or not just the hip replacement recovery patient. So you have to just be ready, I think, if you are teaching a class, which I don't know how many people in our audience are teaching classes, but if you want, I think that if you know something about fitness and you are confident that your information is coming from a place of actual research and experimentation, something that you know is not something that's going to hurt people, basically, please spread the word to your friends and family. Please try to get them involved in it. If that means setting up a group fitness class at the park on Sunday morning, do it up. John and I have done that. We've brought our households all together in doing that. And I must say that while you may get some complaints from some certain girlfriends, at the end of the day, they enjoy what they did, and getting active and getting movement, especially if it's with some close friends, is enjoyable in my opinion. And normally I feel like you get out of the session feeling better than you did when you came in.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I hear pretty often from clients, is that they'll go in and oftentimes they might not even want to be there, but leaving, they always feel better than when they came in. So stick it out. But when it comes to group classes, I guess the best thing is just to be your own best advocate. So if something doesn't feel right or sound right to you, then question it. I'm not saying like refuse to do work. If you feel good about it, you damn well better be doing your best.
Now is the time to distinguish, and I want all of you to start to practice on distinguishing. If you are involved in any sort of exercise program, you must be able to distinguish the difference between actual pain and the burn. The burn is good. Feel the burn. Bernie Sanders, 2017. It's good. Pain is not. If you feel pain during an exercise, you will be doing yourself a favor by taking a break, stepping back, maybe move around a little bit to see what was triggering that pain. And oftentimes it will involve just stopping with that workout for the rest of the day. You don't have to do it. You can find something else that is going to work better for you. There are so many exercise options for every body part that there are more things that you can try. Find something that's not going to have you in pain, because again, the last thing that you want to do is get yourself hurt and be forced to potentially be out of the gym completely, thus possibly erasing some of the progress that you made, and also opening the door to that lazy person inside of you to tell you, all right, I guess I don't need to go to the gym anymore, and just fall out of a habit. It's far easier to fall out of a habit than it is to create one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially in this type of thing. Yeah, go start smoking cigarettes. Yeah, it'll be pretty easy to get into that habit, but try to stop. So it's a little opposite.
Yeah. Injury sucks. But that's it. Just question what it is you're doing. Be your own best friend.
Yep, absolutely. You, whether or not it sounds selfish, you are number one. You must take care of yourself. That's why you're exercising in the first place, or at least that should be one of the main driving factors why you're exercising in the first place, because you want to take care of yourself. I, on the other hand, I lift because I want to look good for everybody else. I don't want everybody else to look at some disgusting little gremlin.
The blob.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very, very good reason. Okay.
If you haven't seen me, I got a long way to go.
Let me ask you this then. Okay. On your journey to sick pumps, sweet gains, rippling biceps,
Ruffles have ridges.
Ruffles have ridges, and I bet you can't eat just one.
Oh God.
So, what implement would you say that you would prefer, a free weight or a machine weight?
Great segue. Both have merit. I think both have merit.
Yeah.
Training with machines can, for a beginner especially, essentially ensure that you're doing the movement right. If you're mechanically locked into a position to do a movement, there's going to be a lesser margin for error in performing the exercise incorrectly. That being said, there reaches a point of diminishing return with them, in that the benefits of instability in that of training with the dumbbells or a barbell or kettlebells actually really help with your ultimate athleticism. So I think that they are both well worth doing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's worth noting when machines came around and why. So they were originally built usually in guys' garage. Like, they were homemade at first.
Like the reverse hyper, they made that at the West Side Barbell.
West Side, we go, Louis. Anyway.
We were got a Northwest Side Barbell, not quite as hardcore.
Yeah, afternoon.
Still
crew.
smelly and dirty though. Don't worry.
It smells like socks. Socks are good. So, okay, they were usually built at home, and they serve the purpose to isolate muscle groups. So back then, the main way, the most common way to train, which was actually the only way, was free weights. So that could be barbell, dumbbells, I don't know if they had kettlebells. Although I would
Or
imagine.
just simply lifting some heavy objects.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even have to be a weight room implement. Like go out and pick up a rock or something and you're still lifting.
Yeah. Point is, all of these things were free. They were free weights, so not on a fixed plane of motion. If you lifted it up, it would move, and you could move it pretty much anywhere. So that requires a lot more stability, and so therefore trains more muscles at once. Whereas a lot of the machines initially were made just to isolate muscle groups. So think of something like a leg extension. So guys were doing squats pretty often, but they needed something more for just the quads themselves. Maybe, I mean, geez, I bet people got hurt back then too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Low back pain.
LBP.
Yeah, that LBP.
We got a video on that.
Creeping up, yeah. So they're going through the same stuff and thinking, okay, man, how am I going to train these legs? So there is the birth of the leg extension and other similar machines.
Leg press.
So they serve a purpose, and a very real purpose. They're very beneficial for muscle isolation or training muscle groups in different positions that don't compromise something like an injury. And so they have plenty of stock. I'm definitely not in the camp of like, hey, let's get rid of all the machines. They come in handy. So like you mentioned, for a beginner, because you're in that fixed plane of motion, there's far less opportunity for you to cause injury due to improper form. But with the downside, that point of diminishing returns, and also the fact that machines aren't necessarily made for every single person. So I was always quick to assume initially when I started working out that if it's a machine and I can like comfortably or semi-comfortably fit in it, then yeah, it's great. It wasn't until later on and through lots of repetition, I learned that certain machines actually tend to aggravate injury or cause injury, and that I'm better off not doing them.
Being locked into a position that doesn't work for you.
Exactly.
Type of thing.
Yeah, not every single machine is adjustable either. And so with different brands and models, there's a lot of inconsistency. So it takes a good awareness of your own body to be able to decide like definitively whether this is a machine that works for you or it's one that you could put in the iron graveyard.
So on that note, back to something that we talk about a lot is the value of experimenting and taking multiple points of view and like multiple recommendations from multiple sources. And before one becomes gospel in your training, you must test things. You must try different methods. That's the only real way that you're going to see if this thing is going to work for you. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons why I personally am trying my best to not be closed-minded about anything in this realm here. Basically, the only thing that I'm closing myself off to is, or basically the only thing that I think is actually wrong to do in the gym is like ego lifting or using improper form. Like if you're putting yourself in danger, then yeah, that's probably not right. But if you like to perform exercise a certain way differently than I like to perform it, if it works for you, then that's fantastic. That means that you have taken some time to experiment with things and you found what works for your specific physiological makeup. So yeah, basically just want to really stress the importance of not thinking in a black and white fashion, right and wrong. Try things before you decide if it works for you or not, and then go from there.
So barbells are badass.
Barbells are bad.
They are bad.
I don't like them. I don't like lifting them. I don't like smelling them. They do taste good, but that's about it.
Well, I mean, see, you just listed off only a fraction of uses of the barbell, which is what makes them so badass.
Oh, may I add something else?
Yes.
Before I forget, I just wanted to mention one more possible con of machine training.
Yeah.
And that is similar to what you were talking about already, that the functional application for machines is generally lower than that of free weight training. So let's look at the barbell back squat, or even like a goblet squat or anything like that, put up against the leg press or the leg extension. The squat is a movement pattern that you will be doing probably pretty often day in, day out. Like, how else are you going to get off that toilet? Again, that's one of my favorite places to squat. Always, 100%. Oh, I squat at the urinal. I don't even care. But try to go to the bathroom with the same form as you would do a leg press. You'd be getting so messy. Like, you'd be shooting it up and then back at you all over this chair. Or the leg extension. Like, go and, I don't know, I guess you could do leg extensions on the toilet. But again, leg extensions get knocked by a lot of people because they put your knees at a bit of a risky position. And also, there's just no functional application of the leg press. Other than maybe if you're like, I don't know, maybe for soccer, I don't know, like kicking a ball or something. Yeah. I don't know. But compared to the squat, the functional application of the leg press and the leg extension to other quadricep dominant exercises is a bit lower.
Yeah, that's why I like to think of it in terms of, well, the guys who originally made this, they didn't make a leg extension so they could use it every day instead of squatting. They used it because they were squatting 80% of the time and needed something else to train their quads, while, you know, not necessarily focusing on working their abdominals, their glutes, their hams, you know, all the other muscles that help.
I'm gonna be flat out honest too right now that I do like the leg extension.
They're pretty sweet.
And I do like the leg press. Yeah. They are good ways to change it up in hitting the quads, because with free weights there are a more limited amount of exercises that you can do to hit them. So anything that you can add variety in, if it doesn't hurt you, again, and it feels okay for you to do these, I say they're worth a shot. Yeah. Because they're different. They're not better or worse. They're just different.
Yeah. Well, variety is the spice of life. But earlier I said barbells are badass. I want to take it back to when I was a little bit less experienced. Well, a lot less experienced. Before I even touched a barbell, I was nervous of them. I was afraid. I thought that I was going to end up injuring myself. Well, I mean, that was inevitable, at least for me, because I like to learn the hard way. But what ended up happening is I did finally get the berries to go out and experiment. I picked the barbell up and I learned a whole different side of training. Prior to the barbell, I was all machine. And I thought, okay, I'm going to strengthen my muscles up here in isolation, so that way when I go to the barbell and do these compound movements using a whole bunch of muscles, I'm going to be better at it.
That has some logic behind it.
Well, it sounded logical, but it was mostly out of the fear of the barbell, because I was never in the gym before, and so I was nervous that I was like this little dude who did not know what he was doing. And it kept me away from the squat rack.
But we've all been there. An important life lesson, and it's something that most people need to train every day, is to not be afraid. Don't be afraid of failure in whatever aspect of your life that is. If it's something that you want, the only way that you're going to ensure failure is by not doing it at all. Yeah. So if you can go and try, like with the back squat or whatever, if you dump it on one of your first times with just the bar, pick yourself up as long as you can. Put up those safeties so you don't fully die, but pick yourself up and try again. So just like think back when you first started learning how to ride a bike. You would fall a lot. It's not just something that you're born knowing how to do, and most skills aren't like that. Most people aren't just virtuosos at things and be able to just, never having touched it before, get right into it and kill it. It requires time and effort and consistency in order to increase skill at anything. Like anything. Math, weightlifting, reading, anything like that. Herpetology. You gotta get in there. Gotta get in the field.
The most valuable form of knowledge is experience. So being able to experience things for yourself is gonna go a long way. I probably would have never felt the same level of strength, like actually walking around feeling like a strong person, if I didn't pick up a barbell. I mean, sure, you could work your way up to a pretty damn good leg press, but it's not the same as a damn good squat.
Not gonna lie, I hit a personal record on the leg press this week. Finally got the 5s on. Finally upgraded from the 2.5s.
Dude, moving on up. That's a 50%, no, 100% increase. Whoa.
Exactly. Yeah. It was 1 rep, but that's still 1 rep closer to my dreams.
That's 1.5 next week, broski. You're on your way.
I need a spot.
I'll be there.
All right. Awesome.
So, yeah, barbells, machines, they're all great. Just know it's more a matter of when.
Assess your goals. Your goals will have a heavy influence on what training implements are going to be more effective for you. Again, none of us have the time to be spinning our wheels in the gym. A lot of people struggle to find the time to even get into the gym in the first place. So if you're going to be investing this time, you should want to do it in a way that is going to pay off for you. So again, it's not easy. Not everyone's going to know their goals right off the bat. So spend some time thinking about that. Think about what you want to accomplish, and then structure your training to reflect that. So that way you're not wasting any additional time. So we're not getting any younger, but we do have nothing but time ahead of us to practice and to perfect these things. Goals will change over time as well. So just that should be something in the foreground of your mind, especially as far as training goes. Is if you're kind of lost, yeah, I'd say if you don't have any particular goals, if you are still exercising, you're probably still doing yourself a favor. Mm-hmm. But just think a little bit about it, and I'm sure you will be able to speak a goal or something, or think of something particular that you want. So whether it be something as simple as I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to make my left forearm the same size as my right. Like, I don't know why my right forearm is so much bigger. Like, it's weird, but
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know.
Specificity. Oh my gosh, I can't say that. Be specific.
Pacific.
Yeah, be specific, be clear, have a clear vision, and let that guide you. So, hey, wanted to make a quick mention that our sleep ebook is still in the works. We do have another ebook, Nutrition, ready to go up and live. So by the time this comes out, you should be able to check it out on theartofbeingfit.com.
Again, 100% free. We really, really, really want you guys to check this out, because spent a lot of time on it to try to compile some great information to make nutrition make sense to you from the ground up. That way you know why you're doing what you're doing. But yeah, that should be up around the time that this podcast gets up. So please do yourself a favor, check it out. You won't be disappointed. And if you are, please let me know. I'll be better next time. I promise. I promise, master.
Give us a chance. With that, also check out our YouTube channel. All of our videos are going to be under the Iron Will Collective. And as of right now, we're still expanding with our video content. So you can find the podcasts, another way to listen. You can find exercise demonstrations by the handsome Elliot. You can find a couple of informational videos and things on a variety of subjects. So
if you want to subscribe, do so, because we're fully into this. So we're going to be coming out with new content on a regular basis as much as we can. And again, we're going to do our best to use the utmost integrity in bringing you unbiased information. Really, we want to bring things into light for you and then let you make your own decisions. We're not going to tell you what's right and what's wrong. We're not going to tell you to do anything in particular. We just want to teach. We just want to put ideas in your head. And before we close out, one of the most important ideas that you should have in your head is that you can accomplish your goals. All it requires is consistent effort over a long-term span of time. Do not give up. And once you reach your goal, set a new one. Don't ever be satisfied. Always be looking forward and treat every day as a new day to become a little bit better.
Yeah, I love that. And with that, hey, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week.
Yeah, be safe out there. There's a lot of crazy things happening. Good night.
Good night.